Okay, I want to welcome everyone to our April 1st meeting of the Whitley County Board of Commissioners. We'll start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on our agenda, we have our attorney replacement, Sam Ladowski. Anything that you have, Sam? Okay.
No, Mr. Shipman passes along his best.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, Joe Snyder, Whitley County DFI grant request. Jill?
That's basically just need your blessing, so to speak, on the monies that from the, or what they asked for. Oh my gosh, I give up. I do want you to know that the Whitco SAD chapter and the Columbia City hasn't been there probably in 5 years now, and the Whitco SAD did not come back this year, for the school year. So if anyone has any contacts in that, in those two areas, and so they're welcome back. That's why we have, I mean, this is our second year now that we've had a balance. That we were, and this year we funded everybody in full, and that's not normal.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Any questions for Jill?
Do we just give this a favorable pass to council?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, I make a motion that we give a favorable pass to the drug-free Indiana proposed budget to the council.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the drug-free Indiana proposal for a budget for funding.
Second.
And the funding is, we got a second, the funding is for $34,933.40. We got a second, any further discussions?
Only to mention that for the folks in the audience, they have more money than that, so they're not,
Oh, this is just this year's budget. Yes.
yeah, so that's good job. Good job on that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand, opposed, the same. And that will give you a favorable pass for the council tomorrow. Thank you, Jill. Mark Sturtevant, Facility Project Report.
Before we get into that real quick, I just got the last estimate for the elevator violations we received. For the government center, it was 2,024. So between the two buildings, we're at a total of 17,842. That'd be for the jail and the government center.
For violations?
State violations. We got a new state inspector
Every time we get a new...
Of elevators.
on the elevators. Yes, sir.
That was the repairs to get us violation free.
Correct.
I think it was like $14,000 for the...
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you were telling me we have to pay a fine of $17,000.
The state comes in and inspects the
Right.
elevators, and then we have to make any repairs that they recommend.
The majority of that was for the jail.
The traveling cable at the jail was $13,115. The rust remediation was $2,703. And then the government center, both control boards in the phone system need to be replaced, and those are $2,024.
Mark, for the audience, could you give them your name and position, please?
My name is Mark Sturtevant. I'm the maintenance director for Whitley County government.
Are those repairs already made, all of them?
No,
That's just the cost.
that's just the cost. We talked about in the last commissioners meeting, to go to the council for the funding. At that time, in the last meeting, I did not have the cost for the 2 elevators here at the Government Center, and I just received those, so.
So are you going to ask council for both, for the
I
jail?
want to put it all together.
Okay,
instead
good.
of separating it all out.
Because I talked to the sheriff, and he didn't know whether it was going to be all together or just
Yeah.
separately. Okay.
Okay.
With all those violations, are they still going to let you use them?
Oh, yeah, they're still operational.
So what's the big deal?
They're only going to give us so many extensions, and we've already had 2. Because it's taken quite a while to get these estimates, but Kyle's already gotten 2 30-day extensions, and we're on our last one, so these are not an option, really. Okay, on facility projects for 2019, on your sheet dated March 20th, 2019, the projects I'm proposing we do are in red. If you want to start with the jail, we have 44 of those lavatory valves left. We've started replacing them back in 2013, and we're down to 44. I'm asking that we try and get these done at once to save quite a bit of money. The cost keeps going up considerably, and at the rate we're going, we're going to spend an additional $100,000 on replacing those if we still do them a few a year, which is what we've been doing.
An additional 100,000?
An additional $100,000. If we keep doing the 2 or 3 a year that we've been doing, instead of just getting them all done at once, at a cost of $76,780.
The
We're
valves,
paying-
the valves themselves are going up, is that what it is? or-
Well, and labor, but we're paying about $2,200 a piece right now to replace one.
They must be really nice valves.
In correctional facilities, you have 2 options, either Bradley or Sloan, and they both cost about the same, but there's only 2 manufacturers that make these valves.
When they quit working, what happens?
What's happening right now, the current valves that we have in there, when the inmates slam the button, they end up breaking a little plastic rod inside the valve, and then we spend between $35 and $40 a piece for the new part, and about an hour tearing it all apart and replacing it. And it happens 2 to 3 times a week. We're over there replacing these things. And then when they, one of the things that factor into this, when they do break them, like if it's at night, the guards will shut the water off, and sometimes it'll affect both cells that are back to back when they shut the water off. So you lose water in both cells, both lavatory and stool. These new valves, they can't, no matter how hard they hit them, they don't break. Because they're air operated, not mechanical, so.
But you're listing 44 Bradley lavatory valves at $76,780. Based on the claim I signed this morning, one valve costs $2,150, a little more than that. So 44 times that comes out to be about almost $95,000. Why is it? What's the $20,000 difference there?
When I said 100,000,
You have the estimated cost at $76,780, and I have the estimated cost for 44, based on the claim I signed today, $94,600.
Kyle, was that for just the one valve, or did we get 2?
With the multiple valves that we're replacing at one time, we get a discount for doing them at one time. I'm not sure on the exact number, if that's what number you're asking for or not.
I don't remember what the last claim was. Sometimes we'll buy,
It was Redmond's for lavatory faucet.
but on those, sometimes we'll buy one, a spare, So we have it in-house because they take a while to get in when you order them. And then we'll order 2 and then have them install 1.
Okay, no, you had one put in D block and one put in E block,
And combined, it was,
4342.
so they must have gave us a discount. I'm not sure.
There was an additional one that we had in stock that wouldn't have been on that paperwork that we had already paid for, the county had already paid for.
So they installed 2, but we bought 1. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying, but I don't believe I read this, I don't believe I read the claim that way.
Okay, I would have to see the claim.
Yeah, we'll have to review the claim, because I had it as 2, but I could be wrong.
We had them quote the remaining 44,
Yeah,
and it came in at 76,780.
okay. Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So there's the valves. Any other questions on those? The HVAC software upgrade, technically it's called the front end of the system. We are currently between 15 and 20 years on this existing one. It's not repairable. We can't get parts for it. Once it goes, we lose all eyes on the system. We can't make any adjustments to the heating, the air, anything. So,
Mark, wasn't that upgraded back in 2011?
No.
10 or 11?
no, it would have been prior to 2004.
So when we put that whole new system in over there, we didn't,
Whole new system.
we got a $250,000 grant to put HVAC system in, you're talking jail, right?
Correct.
That was lights and
Yeah, there was
HVAC
light-
too.
There was lights too.
And they replaced the motors throughout the building that control HVAC to high-efficiency motors, but they did not change the front end on the control system.
Okay.
So the system's working today. I'm just letting you know that when we lose that, we have no capability of controlling that. We can't see it, we can't make changes to it.
Okay.
The courthouse, I'm asking for $35,000 for the 4 remainder heat pumps that are in the building. That's what that first one is. The east steps on the sidewalk, hope you got pictures with your packet. The east steps at 7,100. Part of the reason why that's a little high is because the 2 sections right off of the set of steps are all broken up, so we're going to replace those first 2 sections out to the street there. The north sidewalk, that would be from Chauncey to Van Buren, all along the front of the courthouse. That was $45,750. The south sidewalk, again, from Chauncey to Main Street, I'm sorry, $29,400. And then when we do the south sidewalks, we need to replace the south steps. And those are at $29,880. So the total would be about $85,230.
Have you got a firm bid for these?
Yes, I do. We are spending between $2,000 and $3,000 a year leveling sidewalks, grinding high spots down, and trying to keep the sidewalks as even as we can. I know we've had a couple of claims in the past few years of people tripping. Under the government center, the boilers, both of them need to be, the refractory needs to be replaced. And the estimate on those is about $20,000 for both. That would include both. Those boilers run 24/7, 365. They never shut off. They rotate weekly, so they've got some pretty good time on them. We patched one in 2013, and we've replaced both burners in 2018. That was almost $10,000. But now we need to do the refractory.
I'm not really sure, because I'm not an HVAC guy, I'm not really sure what the picture is showing me.
Of the refractory,
Boiler refractory damage.
that would be the inside of the burner of the boiler. It's a heat resistive, almost like a brick,
Yeah, okay.
and after time, that just starts crumbling inside there. Well, once we expose the metal behind it, the metal starts to warp, burn, disfigure, and then we get into some.
So is it a layer of metal, then a layer of this masonry, and then another layer of metal?
There's not another layer of metal. It would be the metal exterior, and then you have the refractory.
There's no
material.
metal interior.
Correct.
Okay.
And when that starts breaking down, and actually what caused some of that damage you see in the picture is the burner malfunction, burned a hole in the side of the burner, and it ended up disfiguring the metal around it, which is what caused some of that crumbling. That's why we had to replace the burners. But the rest of it inside is starting to break down and crumble.
That's your normal wear after so many years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the building's 14 years old, but they've ran nonstop for 14 years. And then the work release, masonry restoration, what we have is that brick veneer cap on the front of the building is actually disfigured and is allowing the water to run back towards the building, in behind the brick, and it's causing the masonry joints to expand, from the freeze and thaw. It pops the face of the brick off, and it's cracking the mortar joints.
Mark, when we replaced the heating and cooling units on that, didn't we have to do something to the cap on that at that time? Wasn't there some water damage that we had to deal with?
There were some on the second level.
So it wasn't that?
Correct. When we replaced this vinyl siding, we did adjust those.
Okay.
This would all be on the lower level.
This is on the lower level from the ground up to about the window level?
Correct. And that's $13,094. So the total for these projects is around $255,104. I guess I'm asking council or commissioners for direction to go to the council, and then ultimately which ones we want to do or how you want to proceed.
I move we send this on to the council for their approval and decisions.
You got a motion to approve sending to council for approval.
I'll second that.
Got a second? Discussion? And the reason we're doing that is they're going to have to determine how much you're going to spend on that, Mark.
Sure, I understand. I just want to make sure you guys were aware of what was going on.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Nathan Bilger, rezoning request. We had a 3-0 vote. Send it back to council. Okay.
Thank you. For the record, Nathan Bilger, Planning Director. On the agenda, it was listed as rezoning and plat. The expected plat that was approved at the March Plan Commission meeting didn't come in, so that'll be brought to you. One of the rezonings that was on the schedule for today, 19W Rezone 3, which was for the Zuchow DeKalb LLC. That was the treatment center up along 300 North. They formally withdrew the request earlier this morning. They're pursuing other locations, both within Whitley County and surrounding counties. So we may see them again, we may not. So the one business at hand is the rezoning for 19W REZ1, which was filed by the Johnsons. It's a rezoning from AG to AGP, located on several of their properties, primarily located along 150 North and in the vicinity of Johnson Road. This received unanimous approval, a unanimous favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission at their February meeting, and would have been heard at the last, or not heard, but considered at the last meeting, but unfortunately Commissioner Amber wasn't there, so we like to have all three members consider rezonings, so that's why it's on for today.
Okay.
So hopefully you've had a chance to look at that. If you've got questions for me, I'd be happy to address them, and petitioners are also here if you have questions for them.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the request.
Got a motion to approve the request, and that's ordinance number,
Well, then you actually have 02 on the well ordinance, so do you want me to do 03?
yeah,
Okay. All right.
that would be 2019-03. So we've got a motion to approve the rezoning from Ag to AGP.
Second.
Got a second? Further discussions?
Only that I probably live as close as anybody to all those facilities, and they're not only pleasant to be around, but they're really good-looking facilities too. They do a very nice job of keeping their place up, so.
Well, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
We do have a couple other rezonings coming up before the Plan Commission for the April meeting, so you'll be seeing a couple more in the next few meetings.
Good.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
John Myers, EDC Annual Report.
So I'd like to share a couple things with you. I know several of you were
Thank you.
at our annual meeting in March, but I'd like to come in and report in and give you guys an opportunity to ask any questions on the record and make sure you keep me pointed in the right direction.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, John.
Do you want me to?
I do.
They're all your numbers.
I'm John Myers, president of the Whitley County Economic Development Corporation. And as I just said, I like to come in and report what we're up to, give you guys an opportunity to ask questions, at least on an annual basis. And I always try to do it at least once this time of year because we've just finished up 2018 and have some idea how 2018 went, how that's impacted the revenue and assessed valuation for the county. So it gives you a sense of, I suppose, whether I'm doing my job or not. So if the numbers are going in the wrong direction, it's an opportunity to discuss that. Our continued focus really over the last year has to a great deal been on not only recruiting people to move to the county, but also helping out where we can in terms of community development and residential development that can bring more potential workers to the county. Although we continue to work to bring companies and help our companies expand, we've just had a shift of focus over the last couple of years with unemployment being so low. There's no need to go out and look for somebody to bring 500 new jobs to the county if we only have 350 people currently unemployed. So our unemployment remains low. It ticked up a little bit to 3% last month, but that is still well below what is typical strong economy, which would have unemployment right around 4%. Just figuring people, just the natural people, switching jobs, companies expanding or cutting, as the case may be. Our population has continued to increase. Last year, our population was slightly higher than the national average, and we had the highest growth in population of any of the 11 counties in northeast Indiana. So headed in the right direction in that regard. New population numbers should be coming out later this month, and so we'll see, hopefully things will continue in the right direction. I gave you copies of our annual report, which gives you a sense of what we did in the last year, different projects, different things going on. I know a lot of you are aware of that, just conversations we have along the way, but it's nice to have a good summary list in case you get any questions from anybody on the street in terms of what the EDC's been up to. Tax revenues and assessed valuation also continued to increase. That's been a goal of mine since I took over the job. Just because if I'm not doing my job, then you're not going to see increase in CEDAT taxes or CAGIT revenue coming in, or assessed valuation on a gross basis going up. But those have continued to increase year on year, and that's the information that I provided to you in this handout. I broke it down a little further this year so you can see there's some charts that kind of give you a visual sense of what's going up, what's going down, and what those numbers relate to. Similarly, with the assessed valuation portion, we broke it out in terms of different types of assessed valuation, or different types of property. So as you might imagine, agricultural land far and away makes up nearly a third of the assessed valuation within the county. But you can't make more farmland, so that's been relatively level over the last couple of years. On the commercial and industrial and residential side, though, those numbers continue to climb. So not only the tax base that we have for property taxes, but also the taxes themselves then can continue to increase, which in turn brings in more revenue for the county to do the things, to pay for the things like Mark was talking about here. So about a little over a $2 million increase in tax revenues over 2017. So the last thing that I handed to you is a little booklet that was recently put out by the Northeast Indiana Regional Partnership. Again, the 11 counties in Northeast Indiana are all in sync in trying to do what we can to make sure that we have more talented people moving to Northeast Indiana, bringing their families here to raise them and build homes and take jobs and build our economy. The goal is for Northeast Indiana to have 1 million residents by 2030. That's a bit of a, it's going to be it's a hard number for us to make, but we work at it every day. I can say that Whitley County is certainly a leader, though, in that regard. But still, even with that, we would have to attract a little over 750 residents a year to the county every year from now until 2030. But that's what we're trying to do, and that's why the focus on growth in housing and growth in population. But the regional partnership put out this little booklet, so you can keep it handy if anybody says, why should I move to Northeast Indiana, Whitley County? You've got your cheat sheet there. You can pull it out of your pocket and say, here's 3 or 4 or 5 good reasons. So it's pretty much everything that I had to say, but like I said, I want to give you the opportunity to ask any questions as well, or see if there's anything that you think we ought to be doing that maybe we're not doing or not doing as well as you think we should be.
Okay. Commissioners?
The regional partnership was designed many years ago, before my time, to for all the surrounding counties put money in the pot, and for them to go out and attract business to Northeast Indiana. Do you see us? Is that a good investment?
To be honest, I had my concerns when I started in this job, but there are several things that the regional partnership has done over the last couple of years to increase their focus. Part of that's been because of all of the local economic development directors like me have been riding them a little bit.
And I think part because of the mayor and commissioner caucus too, which is
yes.
sort of hanging in there too. But I just have never been. I never had a warm fuzzy that when they go to Germany, they say, we ought to have you look at Whitley County, so I don't.
Yeah, so what we're doing this year is we've gotten a grant and they've raised additional money. So for every trip that they take this year, they will fund the travel expenses for 2 of the economic development directors to go along and make those pitches. They also have a new business development director that took over about a year and a half, 2 years ago, that was the head of sales for a medical device company. And in terms of having the formal training and processes to make those sales and make those sales calls. I mean, the professional level of that group has really gone up a couple notches. In fact, I just submitted a packet of information to a company that they introduced me to about a month ago. So we're getting our...
So the money that Whitley County gives to the regional partnership, is that actually in your, do we actually put that in your budget?
Yes.
So the county isn't particularly paying that membership, it's the EDC that pays the membership,
Yeah. And that way I've got more, well, not that I wouldn't be interested, but certainly more interested in making sure that they're doing a good job if...
Correct, yeah.
But we do pay for the mayors and commissioners caucus. That's,
Well, yeah, it's a big, that's one of the best things that's come down the pike, I think. So, I had an opportunity, I did not know this existed, but I had an opportunity to go to a tractor pull in Shipshewana a week ago. Have you guys seen the Michiana Event Center? Oh, it is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And there were thousands of dollars come in those 2 nights. So that was just really, really interesting to see that concept. Somebody was really thinking there. So.
Yeah, so that was one of the projects that came out of the Regional Cities initiative that we did a couple of years ago.
Regional cities? Okay. All right. Well, boy, it is a beautiful, beautiful place, very functional. Very functional. So, okay.
Tom, did you?
Thank you.
I'm not ready at this time.
The one thing I'd like to point out is that the average hourly wage coming in from the new jobs, we had 46 new jobs, and the average hourly wage was $29 an hour. And that's great. That's what we're looking for to bring in the community, is high-paying jobs, and you're to be recommended for doing that. It's been great. And another thing I'd like to bring forward is, it used to be that we did a lot of tax abatements to incentivize companies to come in, and now we're doing the training programs and training incentives. So we're actually training our people, Whitley County people, instead of giving that money away, and I think it's a great program that we're doing.
Thanks. Yeah.
I love seeing those claims.
That means somebody's getting a certification for something every time it comes through.
Somebody's learning something. That is great.
Another number that I'm kind of proud of as well, it may be in there, is the fact that, we have the highest average household income of any county in northeast Indiana, and one of the highest in the state. And this year, for the first time, our average household income went over $60,000 a year. So I know it's only a couple thousand over what it was last year, but to get over that line,
It's going in the right direction.
It's big.
Yeah. Anything else for John? The one thing I would like to say is, it would be remiss if we didn't mention that the loss of a great leader that we had in the community in Don Wood. And, we feel sad for the loss of Don, but he's done a lot for Whitley County.
Yeah, a lot for the community, a lot of encouragement for a lot of entrepreneurs that have come along after him in the community.
Yeah.
And also, since you mentioned that, also the loss of Bill Boggs, former town council member in South Whitley.
I just saw that, yeah, wow.
So, and Bill did a lot for South Whitley. Again, we worked closely with him as their economic development representative, but, lost a couple good ones in the last week.
Good.
Well, thank you, John.
Yep, thanks, guys.
John.
Next on the agenda, we have Cindy Barnett, extension update. Cindy?
Thanks.
Wish I could put smiley face on that Purdue, but had a tough weekend.
Yeah, it was. No, come on.
Did get where they were, though.
Sure, thank you very much. I'm Cindy Barnett with Purdue Extension. So we too had our annual meeting last week, and so I usually like to come this time of year to just kind of give you an update. So the black folder contains the information that we handed out at our annual meeting. We always choose a topic, and usually it's a topic which we have been doing a lot of educational programming in for the previous year. This year, we chose to do something a little bit different, and we chose a topic which we are not currently working with, and that is the topic of opioids. Purdue Extension throughout Indiana is doing some work, and we know that it's a crisis in Indiana, it's a crisis in Whitley County, and we recognize the fact that we're not a team player at this point in time with that. So that was our topic. It was fascinating. It's unfortunate we have to be talking about it, but we do. We brought in Kevin Hunter from Fort Wayne, who is with the Narcotics Division. He was our main speaker. And then we had a local panel who represented law enforcement, education, treatment, and facilities. And then our goal at the end of the meeting was to have the audience give us suggestions, recommendations on where they thought we as Purdue Extension needed to get involved. So we will take those recommendations to our board later on this month and have a discussion with them. But in my opinion, we've had some pretty good extension meetings, but this one, I think, just was by far the best, and we had more compliments on this meeting than what we've had in a long time. And the other thing that I guess I realized was with the panel that we brought together of the 5 people who are all working in the area of drugs and drug abuse, even though they're all Whitley County people working in those areas, they did not all know each other. And I found that amazing, I guess, and maybe somewhat unfortunate. So I'm hoping with those 5 people, they will maybe start working together, and hopefully we can fit into some part of that too. So it was a good meeting. One of the things that we always do is put together the little brochure that just highlights some of the programming that we do. This certainly is not all-inclusive, but we do that just to give you an idea of what we do and some of the wide variety of programming that we do. So I thought I'd just go through it really briefly. We're fortunate enough to have a Purdue Ag Center here in the county, and our ag educators especially do quite a bit of programming with them. So this past year we did do 3 different programs with them. The first one we had in June of last year talked about seed treatment technologies. And then we also had about 150 farmers come in August, and they got updates on soybeans, crops, weed control, and worked some with UAVs, which obviously is an area of technology that is really growing in the ag industry. And one of the things that we are always encouraged to do is, to report how many people attended, what they learned, what they represented. So in this particular case, in the meeting that we had in August with 150 participants, they represented almost 54,000 acres of farm ground. We have a group of junior leaders, which are 4-Hers in grades 7 through 12. And they do a lot of community service projects, and one of the things that they did this year was at Christmas time, they baked 75 dozen cookies and delivered them to our public servants. So that was kind of interesting watching them do that. Some of their community service included collecting toys for tots and ringing the bell for Salvation Army. With their fundraising, they raised over $2,000, and they bought 5 new display cases for the 4-H fair. One of the new programs that John did this year was a timber marketing program, and this is a program that came out of his Ag Advisory Committee as a topic that needed to be addressed here in Whitley County. So he did that. We had 19 people that attended, and 63 of those people said that they, from the information they learned at that meeting, that they were going to do something to improve their timber stand. Extension Homemakers is a group that we have in Whitley County, mostly women, about 130 participants, 10 different clubs. There again, they're about education and community service. So last year, they donated almost 3,000 items of different sorts. They volunteered a little over 6,600 hours to the community, and they donated over $17,000 to local projects. Todd Geiger's been with us for a little over 2 years now as our 4-H educator, and he has a real interest in STEM. And so he has done a super job of pulling together a group of high schoolers, training them, and then those high schoolers form a team and go into our elementary schools and do STEM projects. So he calls it the Teens as Teacher group. They have come up with their own projects, their own activities, which is about 20 different activities. They don't take them all in at the same time, depending on how much time, but they usually have somewhere between an hour and 2 hours in the elementaries. But last year, they reached 1,200 kids in 7 of our elementary schools. That program is growing, so we're really excited about that. Some of our 4-H numbers, to date, we are almost to 800. Last year, we had 812, so we're sure that we will surpass that this year. We also have the Whitley County Youth Leadership Program, which is a program for sophomores. We have 5 students from the 3 high schools, and that program continues. So far, we have about 130 approved adult volunteers. So those volunteers do have to go through an application process, and we do a background check on them, just to make sure that liability-wise, our kids are all safe. Last year at the fair, the feeder calf was the largest livestock project, and baked goods was the largest non-livestock project. So far this year, we have almost 180 new kids enrolled in 4-H. And then mini 4-H is grades K, 1, and 2. And so far, we've got almost 140 youth enrolled in our mini 4-H. So our 4-H numbers are on the rise. A new program that I've been working with this past year is called a block party. Seems pretty simple. It's a parenting program as such, but I go into different organizations and I take blocks and we make the parents sit on the ground with the kids and play blocks. And the parents have to talk to the kids about colors and numbers and, you know, some engineering. How do you build this and what happens when it falls over? And it's a fun program to do, but it really is amazing. I've had several parents come in and they tell the kids to go sit and play with the blocks. And it's like, no, this is a team effort. And of course, we want to encourage them to continue that at home then. But in 2018, we reached over 200 parents, about 625 youth. And I did the program multiple times at Bright Point Head Start, South Whitley Library, and at Babe. Another educational program that I've been working with is a program called Without a Will. And so the whole point of this is to encourage people to write a will. And the message is, if you don't write a will, the state of Indiana will determine how your assets are distributed. So last year I did teach that program 45 times and we reached a little over 1,000 Hoosier families. So John works with the Master Gardener program. He does the training every fall. It's a 14-week program, 3 hours each week. Last year he had 10 from Whitley County that completed the program. And then the Master Gardener group as a whole, their mission is education. So in 2018, they volunteered almost 3,000 hours. Their educational hours included 942, and that's just continuing their own education. And then they had a total of a little over 7,000 educational contacts. So when they do their volunteer work and go out into the community, they also can count the number of people that they reach on a one-to-one basis. The single sheet that I gave you, so that was the program from the annual meeting. The single sheet that I gave you just kind of gives you an idea of total numbers between the three of us educators. So in 2018, we did 222 educational programs. Of that, 135 of them we taught as an individual, and the other 87 we teamed up with another extension educator to teach. Sometimes we team up within our own office, sometimes we team up with educators from the area that have a certain expertise. Our learner hours, we offered almost 500 hours of education. Our direct contacts, so these are people that we actually see, okay, on a, one-to-one kind of basis. We have to report to Purdue University. We also have to report to USDA. So when we report our contacts, these are the categories that we have to use. But we had a total of 6,861 contacts, and we report those as either Hispanic or non-Hispanic. And then when we divide that down into race, we obviously are a white community. We have a few blacks that we report and a few Asians. But, and then we're just kind of scattered between the Pacific Islanders. Some people report 2 or more races. And then our total for the races, we realize, does not equal the total between the Hispanic and the non-Hispanic. And the reason is, this is all voluntary information. So oftentimes, people do not report their race, and we can't guess. We did have 238 volunteers who taught with us, and those 238 volunteers volunteered 828 hours. Last year, consultations, these are individual consultations, we did 745. We are a member of 68 different committees, coalitions, groups in the county, and we participated in 60 activities among those 68 different groups. We wrote 150 press releases. And then at the bottom, the indirect contacts. So those are people that we reached, but not on an eye-to-eye. So as an example, when we have a 4-H leader training, as an example, we'll get the leaders from those clubs, and then those leaders then go to their clubs and share that information. So that is what we call an indirect contact. So we have indirect contacts for youth and for adults. Our main means of transportation, our main means of education with our extension clientele is via newsletter. We send out about 9 a year. Half of those are email and the other half are snail mail, for a total of a little over 900 families. So, in review, that's what we did last year.
That's it, huh?
That's it. Questions?
No, that's pretty impressive.
Okay, great.
Pretty impressive.
We're pretty proud of it.
Yep, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
It's great that you're working with the opioid awareness. It just seems like you said that everybody has their own little silo with that. If we could all get together
Right.
and work together, I think we could do a lot.
Right.
But,
The health department has hired a part-time person that I think is going to help to bring the community together around that topic. So we're hoping to be a part of that also.
Good, good.
well, thank you.
So, you're welcome.
Good job.
Thanks,
Tell your staff we appreciate all that they do. Brandon Forrester, Highway Department update.
Brandon Forrester, County Highway Engineer. For starters, last week, we completed our PASER rating, so every segment of road in the county was evaluated. That's our third year doing that, and from that, we will develop our 2019 road program in conjunction with our community crossings projects. I did receive I received the executed contracts with NDOT for the Community Crossings Award that we received in 2018 for work in 2019. And so with that, I've also worked with the low bidder contractor for that project and NDOT officials to make sure we're doing this right, or at least I think we are. So I have Fender Brown was the low bidder, and I have worked up a change order to actually reduce the quantity on that project. So I would request that we all sign a change order, which reduces the contract by $85,039. And then sign the acceptance for their Form 96, their bid proposal for that, and that will provide for some paving at various locations at Tri-Lakes, Blue Lake, Loon Lake. We've also got another community crossings project in the works, but for the time being, we want the change order.
I would make a motion that we approve the change order.
We've got a motion to approve the change order.
Second.
Got a second? Further discussions? This change order is for lowest bidder then on the project.
Yes, and they have signed off on that also, agreeing to the terms.
Good.
The new terms.
Yes.
Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same.
Is this blue?
How do you know if it's blue
That
or
doesn't
not?
matter.
Okay.
This is, yeah. I brought blue.
All right, better find the big things.
So then,
Oops, sorry.
this is then their Form 96 and the acceptance form. I just added that their bid was filed on February 19th, which was the original date that we opened it, and at that point in time, it was tabled to review for compliance with specifications. I have added to their form for the acceptance that it's accepted on this first day of April and subject to following conditions. That project RD 01-19 includes road segments shown in attachment A. That's a requirement of NDOT. Subject to condition number 2, which is the approval of the change order dated 3/21/19 by the contractor and 4/1/19 by Whitley County, and signed Wagner's payment performance bond and certificate of insurance. So
Do we need a motion on that, or is it just signed?
yes, we would need a motion to accept the bid of Fenn and Brown.
I move we accept the bid from Fenn and Brown.
Okay, we got a motion to approve Fenton Brown's bid for the 3 projects? Is that the 3 projects then, right?
projects.
3
Okay.
projects. Second.
Got a second? Discussion?
This one?
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
Does that have a total price on there somewhere?
I believe this will be
It
blue
is,
blue pen too.
the original quantity was $1,174,167. And it's, with the change order, $85,039 less. I did $1,085,000, of which 75%, well, not exactly 75%, 650,000 of that is paid for by the community crossing.
Community crossings, yeah.
That's great.
Good program.
So that
program.
is our first 3 projects, which is, it's technically 3 projects because you can only have 10 segments of road included in a project. Our second go-around, which I applied for in February, we also received an award, or a community crossings, yes, an award, I guess. And that was in the amount of $592,000, 592,113.25.
That's great.
So, the good news is, it's another opportunity for us to use some of the state money. But boy, they've got some tight schedules on that. So, we have to have our contractor contract executed and to NDOT by July 1st, which, you know, is 3 months away, but I have to finalize the bid specs, we have to advertise for bids, we have to receive bids, we have to review bids, and, you know, plus we have to execute these 5 contracts, because with this award, there's 5 projects. NDOT, I'm sure they have their reasons, but they want a separate contract for each project.
Brandon, do you have a feel for, since we have to open bids in this meeting, do you have a feel for which meeting would work for you?
It's probably, I'm gonna say, gonna be May.
First meeting in May?
I will
Okay.
That'd be the 6th.
That would be to open, that'd be to open the bids. That means you'd have to get the specs written and out
I have to
and
get the specs.
advertise and do that.
Yes.
So basically, that's 30 days you've got. You think you can do that?
I should be able to,
Okay.
because a lot of the bid specs are gonna be the same as what we
That's
got.
true, that's true.
General provisions.
That's true, yeah,
I do
yeah.
have to make some specific.
But that also gives you the second meeting in May, if it doesn't, and you still have 30 days before July, so
Right.
that's good job, good job.
So these are,
So they have to be approved one at a time?
up to you, it's 5 different projects. We're gonna call it RD-02-19, road project number 2, 2019. And, yeah, I'll leave that up to you if you want to. You could.
Well, you have a number for each
modify.
one.
We have a DES number, which is the state's designation number for each one, if you want to call it out by that, or we have a community crossings project number. They're all unique. Choose, or we can.
Yeah, if it's not-
Standard
if-
boilerplate contracts that we are not allowed to modify. The only writing that can occur on these is on the signature page.
Signature, yeah, okay.
This is where we have to have blue ink, and takes 6 to 8 weeks for NDOT to process these. And we get, so.
What's your thoughts, Commissioner? Individually or?
If you got numbers for each one individually, I think it would be
Just to
better.
make sure.
Yeah,
One motion to include all the numbers?
yeah.
And that, yeah, that,
Are the numbers similar?
if you go by community crossings project numbers, it's 44, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30.
I'm sorry, 44,
26, 44, 27, 44, 28, 44, 29, and
44, 30.
30.
Okay.
Should be 5 of them, I hope.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the community crossing projects 44-26, 44-27, 44-28, 44-29, and 44-30.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the community crossings projects 4426, 4427, 4428, 4429, and 4430.
Second.
Got a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same.
And I'm sorry, this needs to be signed by the chairman of the commissioners, if you want to.
Mr. Chairman, I would,
And attested by the.
Amend? You want to amend, or?
I'd like to amend my motion to add that the agreements will be signed by the chairman of the commissioners.
Okay,
Second the amendment.
we've got a first with an amendment to allow the chairman to sign. We've got a second. Any further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same.
That's why my hand doesn't hurt very bad.
Yeah, that's right.
Good shape.
But don't screw this up as long as it takes him to find this.
Well, there are only 11 pages per agreement.
Per agreement.
There's 26, and 27, 28, 29, and 30.
This is blue too, right?
Pardon me?
This is blue also?
Yes, this is blue.
So right here, then?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that blue?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to put the printed name in the title or so that they can read it?
You gotta sign all of them?
Oh, all of them.
Yeah.
All dated the first then, Brandon?
Yes, please.
Does that money come before the projects are completed, or that has to
Does.
be? It does.
Yes. Once, so the projects that they have executed on their end, the first project, or the first Community Crossings Award, now that we have the approved contract with Fenn & Brown, I will send it along with a letter requesting that they issue a purchase order. Once that's fully executed, they will send us, it'll be, I'm sure, an EFT payment that we will have to put into a special fund. And then, yes, that money will be available as.
It has to be paid out of that fund.
Right, yes. Okay, so also every year, of course, we have to do an annual operational report for all of our funding. This year, it's quite a bit different in that we have to report for our expenses how those are spent into 4 different categories, basically. One is administration and unallocated. That would be like for myself. I'm administrative, my salary, office supplies, things like that get paid or in category. Construction, reconstruction, preservation. Last year we milled up a couple roads, improved the base, chip sealed them. Those were reconstructions. Anything we do chip sealing or adding stone to gravel roads is preservation. So that's the construction, reconstruction, preservation that I've talked so much about. We have to spend 50% of our MDH money on that. Maintenance and repair, which includes patching potholes, cutting brush back, replacing storm damage and accident damage types things. And then we have to also break out our expenses with regard to winter operations. So all of our fuel and labor and our ice grit and salt and those types of things. So that's all new, and that was a challenge. We had to do some modifications to our database. We've created a couple new funds. We've had to make some modifications to our payroll system. It has been a challenge, but I think we're good. I asked Jana to take a look at this because they're our numbers, and apparently everything matches. I thought it did, but Jana said it looked good, so look at the total. There's a lot of numbers on here. The total receipts, and this is motor vehicle highway, local road and street, Cume Bridge, and then our new highway fund. Total receipts, 5.968 million. Total expenses, 5.176 million. So we do have some money on hand, and good thing because we've got a lot of community crossings projects to pay for, as well as other things. So I would respectfully request that you also approve, and this would be by all 3, and it does not need to be blue ink, this annual operations report for 2018.
Great.
I move we approve it.
Second.
Before I read it, huh?
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the annual operations report for 2019?
18.
18?
18. Yeah.
Okay, we've got a second. Discussions. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you, Brandon.
Yes, thank you. And I will get you copies of all this stuff.
Jeez.
One other thing, highway related, we have a new office manager, started full-time today. She had worked a couple days part-time leading up to this, and got high hopes, so.
Good.
She seems to be doing a great job already. So
Excellent.
looking forward to that. And then I believe you have a right-of-way permit?
Yes, we do.
Is it just one? Two? Okay.
Okay, the first one I've got here is West County Road 600 North, located at CenturyLink pedestal. Place a repeater on the stub pole. That's from CenturyLink.
That was the one that I got last minute at your last meeting, wasn't sure what they were talking about. So I asked for additional information, and they provided a picture and description of what that was. So it's not one of those 180-foot tall steel poles right away.
And you've signed off?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right, move we approve it.
Got a motion to approve, we got a second. Discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
This one's here, the next one's for a direct bore for fiber optic at 600 north, 650 east.
Oh,
Ready to come.
east.
Yeah, that sounds familiar, Don.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Well,
You getting fancy dinner now?
no, I'm getting phone calls.
I move we approve it.
We got a motion to approve the West County Road 600 North and North County Road 650 East. We've got a second. Further discussions?
And we're boring, I haven't seen it yet, so we're boring?
Right. That's what
I
it
mean, I know
says.
we're boring. but
Yeah,
I mean, we're-
installation of 2-inch duct and coax cable by directional boring.
Because, I asked because the other firm has to be right in the same area, right? Mm-hmm. They gotta be right, I mean, they're going up 650 east towards 33, and they're gonna go right by here, so I guess as long as they don't get in a fist fight or something over whose it is, so.
We've had one fiber company come and cut right through a fresh fiber installation, not on Lincoln Way East. I mean, hadn't been there a month, and
Wow.
our right-of-ways are getting clogged.
Yeah.
Does that make people
Yeah,
smile?
they are getting clogged.
Does that mean what?
That doesn't make people smile, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No.
Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
This was. I think it's all goes together. I think that's completely done now. Thanks, sir. Okay, next on the agenda, we have claims. I think Don took a look at claims. Okay, I thought I'd do that Okay.
a little bit.
I did, sir. And as I discussed earlier, the The one claim was $4,342 for two faucets, so. But Tiffany and Jana come in and picked me up off the floor. So, yeah. Outside of that, I didn't see anything else.
Okay, great, thank you.
I would make a motion that we approve the payroll claims.
Second.
Motion to approve payroll claims, we've got a second. Discussion, all those in favor raise your right hand, opposed the same.
And I would make a motion that we approve the regular claims.
Got a motion to,
Tiffany, you're doing a great job on those. That's nice and sort of made my job easier. Oh, she did. Do you remember the box, and then you'd have the different numbers? Well, all those numbers were gone this morning, and I wanted to look at a claim, and I figured out, she does alphabetical. So now I know how to deal with it.
that's easier.
It is easier, because I couldn't remember numbers, so.
Okay, we got a motion to approve regular claims.
Second.
Got a second, discussion, all those in favor raise your right hand, opposed the same. Thank you, Tiffany. And Jana. Okay, Don reminded me, we had some old business that we need to attend to. It's, we have an ordinance number 2019-02, is amending Chapter 51 of the Whitley County Code of Ordinances, and it's for the water wells. And we had tabled that to give some time for people to take a look at that and examine it to see if they had any issues with it. I think we had one person that actually looked at it and didn't.
And Matt has approved it,
Okay, yes,
so.
yeah.
Yeah. And are you, Jana, are you still okay with 02-2019?
Or 2019-02.
2019, but 02, you're still okay with
Yes,
that? Okay.
yep, that's right.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2019-02, an ordinance amending Chapter 51 of the Whitley County Code of Ordinances regarding water wells.
Okay, we got a motion to approve 2019-02.
Second.
Got a second, discussion. All those in favor raise your right hand, opposed the same. Did you have the original of that, or do you want?
Actually, I changed this one and already dated it because it said 2018, not 2019.
Okay, good.
Jana, should we scratch the titles? It still has me as vice chairman and him as a member.
I thought Scott was supposed to send me a new one, but when I checked with Sam,
It's
he said
all right.
that's the one that
We
had,
started
so-
talking about it last year.
Oh, I know we did, yeah, long time ago.
Okay, I think everyone's had a chance to take a look at the minutes. Any amendments?
We approve them as written.
And a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I wasn't here, so.
Oh, I'll second that. Discussion? All those in favor raise your right hand, opposed the same.
Abstain.
Yeah, one abstention. Okay, Janet, did you have anything then? How about, did you want to present that?
Yeah, and I didn't hear anything back from Matt on this, but, so Impact presented us with the lease, agreements for the postage machines. The top or the first one is for both of them combined, the clerk's office and our office, and then the next two are them actually separate, and if we put them together, we actually do get a little bit of a break on the price. So, I wanted to give you guys this information, but we probably could wait until June to do it, simply because our agreement with Pitney Bowes isn't up till June or July.
Right, yeah, I
So,
think of end of June, yeah.
Yeah. So this is just informational and to show you guys what it would be. I think Pitney Bowes has also given us an estimate on what it would be if we stayed with them as well.
Will their quote hold?
Yes, he's,
They didn't give us like 30 days or
No.
anything? Okay.
he did not.
Okay, thank you.
And if you put them both together, you won't have, your office won't have trouble. You'll separate them out yourself, right? You'll write one check, but then put them to two different funds? Okay.
And Cindy's approved.
I believe we used to have Impact and she really liked them when we had them, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Don, did you have anything?
I don't, sir, thank you.
Commissioner?
No, not at this time.
Okay, the only thing I have right now is we've got a request for use of county facilities, and this will be on April 13th, 2019, from Abby Ogden of the Humane Shelter. And they're looking at for the extra parking like we did before, last couple of years for the volunteers.
Down to Highway Garage?
Down at the Highway Garage, yes.
Oh, shoot. Brandon?
Yeah. He's approved that.
But it's a weekend.
It's a weekend, it's on a Saturday,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Unless there's a big snow and all the...
That was the only thing I worried about.
Snow.
I'll make a motion, we approve the request.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve, we got a second, further discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand, opposed, the same, thank you. There's that. Okay, anything from the public?
My name is Johan Renard. Exactly was changed in that well ordinance, but that you had to come back and reapprove it or whatever you just did.
There wasn't anything changed from what was presented to us for the amendment from Scott. It's just that we wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance to take a look at that before we approved it. So there really was no change in between times.
And I wasn't here the last meeting, so they just went to April 1st meeting.
Yeah, I think you extended or somebody did.
Right.
Right.
It's a little bit tedious to read, but,
Yeah, I think we just wanted to make sure a couple other people had looked it over.
okay.
Okay, call for the motion.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn, second.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand.
We're going.
Thank you, everyone.
He's here.